Okay, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This is Phil Goes Deep, and just going to introduce myself. I'm Phil. I'm messing around with some new equipment tonight, so excuse the poor green screen situation that we've got going on. I've got a lot of lights trying to figure that out, and it's not working for me. So I've got a crease in the green screen, but I'm messing around with a new camera that's got some auto framing, which is actually a very nice camera, but it's the green screen that's letting me down tonight. I hope the volume's okay. I'll try and keep the levels consistent. However, it is just going to 11 p.m. in the UK. So welcome back to the channel. It's been a little while, but thanks for joining me. Get involved on the chat, and tonight I'm going to start going through an app that I'm playing around with, a little bit of a pet project. I'm calling it Discode. Discode for discovery of code, or code discovery, discodery. I'm not quite sure yet, but that's the working title. I think this might play as a bit of a community app, so if you think it's a good idea and you like it, we'll see if we can get this opened up and shared, maybe open the repo. But just before I do that, I just need to check a couple of things, and I'm going to walk through some of it tonight. I've just got it installed on my PDI. It's not the most beautiful set of code just yet. It's a bit scrappy, so I'd like to tidy that up really before I share it, and anyone else suffers from some of the pain I've created. So what is Discode? It is an app that will scan an application, look at the tables that are in the application, and then look at the logic that's running on those tables and what APIs it's calling. So, you know, if you've got business rules, calling script includes extending other script includes, calling other script includes. UI actions are included as well. So I'll walk you through a little bit of that and just see if we can add a couple of extra features tonight. But really just checking out also my new camera, which I'm very excited about, but I don't think I've got it tuned in just yet. Let's see what we can do if we switch it over this way. Yes, so I'm down in the corner. I'm not sure about that size, if it's taking up too much space, and I seem to have a bit of a line there. So let me actually see if I can fix that a little bit very quickly. I think that's just the crop. Maybe there. Okay, don't know what that's like if you're watching and it's moving around. I also need to get the hackathon app that I built in CreatorCon installed on here, and try and bring that experience into the stream as well, because that's something that I looked at trying to do. So yeah, if you're involved, get involved on the chat. Thanks for joining us, and if you're watching it back, just leave a comment, like, subscribe, all of those keywords. Let's see, what are we doing? Discode. So, also, I'm very pleased to say I've got the VSCode ServiceNow extension attached to this this profile on the machine. So, yeah, been using it on a different profile. I'm very happy with it. But basically I've got two script includes in here. And also I was watching, I should link it on the channel, but there's a I think it's called VSCode 2020 or Code 2020. There's somebody that shares features for VSCode, and let's see if I've got this installed already. Draw.io. If anyone's watched the channel, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Draw.io. So having it built into VSCode seems like a great idea. When I'm using it in my day job, then I am using it with OneDrive integration, and I don't think that works through VSCode just yet. So for the purposes of this channel, I think it'll be fine. I'm going to try and use it through there because I don't use OneDrive when I'm streaming. Let's see. It says it's okay. It's installed. Excellent. I've also been looking at Touch Portal, which is an integration from your mobile to things like OBS, but it can also do lots of workflow. So it's very good apparently for people doing video editing, audio editing, and so on. But you can build macros into it and kind of workflow your world, whatever you're doing, and specifically for OBS, but it will do things like soundboards and change scene transitions. I couldn't get it working so far, but that's another thing that I'm looking at. So if you are a streamer, or even if you just want to workflow your life in some way, make life easier, you're doing repetitive functions, yeah, something like Touch Portal. If I can get that working, I will be trying to bring that onto this as well, just to save me clicking around and changing over here. If you see me looking over here, this is my control screen. Okay, so I've got Draw.io installed. So if I go like this, Draw, I can create a new Draw.io diagram, and I don't really want that stored in there. I don't think I want it stored in there. I'm just going to call it Discode. I don't know whether storing files that are not ServiceNow files in this location creates any problems. I'm not sure. But yeah, how nice is that? So what we've got is core, and I like to. I'm not using core base and base just yet. I've just literally fired this up. So I started building my functionality, but then I've got the concept of scan. Okay, so what I was thinking, design-wise, is that scan abstract is like for all scans. Maybe scan core, but if you look at some of the strategy patterns for things like indicators in GRC, then you'll see like you got indicator abstract or indicator generator, or is it profile generator, item generator abstract strategy, I think it's called. So abstract is like applies to everything, and then what I thought we might have is something like scan business rules or something like that. Scan script include. But obviously each of these will have, I've got that scan script include, would have kind of core methods in there. So things like run would be called and exist at the base level, but down here it will be extended and overridden and then be very specific to how it looks at script includes. So that's the kind of API. If you want to see the table design, this is also, I think, very nice. You know, I was talking to a few people in the community about this idea for Discode, and one of the current benefits as it stands is that all of the tables that I'm using are extended. Basically, it will take any object that it finds and it will create a CI, and therefore I'm able to leverage the dependency view. So it will build the CI relationships. That means that that's really where the power of this app is like doing discovery. If you've let anything loose on your infrastructure before, where it goes out into the network, into the data center, looks at the devices on the network, finds a server, looks what apps are running, databases, what's talking to what, etc., and brings that into the CMDB and allows you to visualize your infrastructure. That's really what we're doing here, but inside the platform, very specifically for applications that we point at it. So yeah, that relies on, for that to work, it needs to have CMDB base tables. CMDB base tables are also listed as exempt from the Madrid licensing model, so that's quite important from the perspective of licensing, custom tables, etc. So whether that makes it more attractive, I don't know if this is something that you know, ServiceNow customers really want, or if this is something for the developer community. It seems like some of the developer community that are customer based might have an interest in this. So let's have a look, let's see what it's doing. But this is some of the thinking around the design. And does that just save if I Command S? I think so. Where's that stored there? So does that change color? If I move that a little bit, does that tell us that it's changed? No. Okay. So scan abstract extends core. Okay. Core has got I like to use constants for tables. If you've ever built an app and then had to, for some reason, change scope, then going through all your glide record calls and looking for those tables and trying to replace them is pain that you don't need. Also, it saves you having to remember or type out a long name, although that's not such a problem. Yeah, this is what I started doing a while ago, and yeah, constant table and metadata. So I've mimicked also the existing table structure for sys metadata, which is the application file. So this allows me to have a table which represents the application file, and that's extended then into script include, business rule, UI action, and table. I've used more friendly names. I haven't matched, you know, you can see here it's not called sys script include, sys UI action, or sys DB object. This could go down to the level of fields as well. We could actually go down to the level of methods in the script include, but this is an opportunity to me to fix regex. You'll see some of some best practices are not being followed right now, so I have got some hard-coded sys IDs just to make this work. Okay, I haven't put any comments in. I'm not using glide record secure. I've just really got this working. So core is my kind of base where I definitely want to store things like my constants, table maps, yeah, basic functionality that's completely central. I also like to put in things like ignore that. That's not good. That was an idea. Get gr. Okay, so I like to do a get gr just to save a little bit of functionality, and then what I do is, so for instance, get CI business rule. That's going to get, and I pass in the constant, therefore my function only passes in the ID because I've said what class it is. I just need the ID. So get grci from source. Yeah, I'm not entirely pleased with this code. It's a little bit sprawling. Come up with some ideas as I was going along. hopefully it's not too far from where we need it to be. Okay, so let's see it in action. I've just installed it, so I don't even know if it's going to work on this instance, but one of the things I was thinking is to have a flow that scans regularly and therefore have a property of scopes that it regularly scans, just to keep it up to date. I'm also wondering whether things like CMDB baseline would be interesting. So if you've changed the script, you've changed the record in some way, that you can kind of see a snapshot of it over time. So CMDB baseline and CMDB baseline diff might work. Oh, James, sorry. Just looking at your message. In doing this, are you not technically misusing the CMDB tables? No, absolutely not. They're configuration items, right? When you've got, you know, I'm not running any logic on the CMDB, so it's not like building task on CMDB. I'm not trying to avoid licensing, right? This is my argument, and let me know if you think this is flawed in any way. But when you're building an application, your application is made up of configuration items, tables, business rules, everything that's on the application file is a CI. Okay, it's a configuration item. So therefore, it's just represented in the CMDB. I don't think it's misusing the CMDB at all, but I just saw your message, a bit difficult to see the code. So, sorry, I've got this set up for myself, not for streaming actually. So let's just cut that over there. Hopefully that's a bit better. Hopefully the volume's all right. Don't know how the video is because of the poor green screen. So yeah, Draw.io hasn't gone too crazy in there, but that's what we're doing. Let's have a look at it then. So I've got it installed. I've got Studio up and running. So these are my tables. They're all prefixed CI, CI application file, etc. And because they all extend from CI application file, anything that's core and going to be useful across them, I can just add to this table and obviously inherit it into my 4 subtables right now. One of the things I've got is this field called basis metadata. Okay, that's a reference to the application file. So that gives us always a reference back to the file in question. So yeah, let's watch it work. So how do we call it? Obviously I'm going to use Xplore, not least because it allows me to execute from in code. And what I need to do is new scan abstract dot run. I think just from memory, I built this on the weekend, so not quite sure what the entry points will be. So that's why I'm saying a flow might be the entry points, because you would potentially want to scan regularly. I don't think it's something that anyone wants to go in and type code to run, but where would you do it? Would it be a UI action on a business rule? Would it make sense? I think we scan from the application level, so I'm just going to go to scan abstract run. Yeah, so we take string scope. So the string of the scope name. Let's also just look at the application files at the moment. So nothing in here, nothing up my sleeves. Okay, I'm going to do one of my favorite applications, the profiles application for GRC. And I'm sure the code can be optimized in some way. I'm not triggering it asynchronously or anything like that, but that's another reason to maybe scan it in the background. Let's see how long. This is probably one of the bigger tables, and I've just added some regex into it recently that let me see if I can find. I thought I put, here we go, I just dropped them down here on line 144. So I was using Xplore as well for the regex and trying to tune it. Okay, so that's worked. I've got some stuff. Right, let's just show for the purposes of the regex argument. So if I go and grab, I haven't got any glide Ajax in here. New class. Yeah, so this is when it's extended. So if I paste in, so I had this idea quite a while ago, and I hit the hurdle of regex. It kind of scared me. I think I was trying to take on too much. But if I grab, I don't know, indicator engine base, and just grab that code and paste it in here, you can see that it's got in my output. I want to look at my match groups. So glide date time, glide date, glide record, glide record. Okay, so yeah, this was for me trying to get hold of not just the glide record, but if it's glide record, then understand what tables are being called as well. So what I want to do is take this regex and try and get those values and know that my code is calling a glide record to a table and connect that relationship as well. So yeah, so at the moment, James, I want to get this tidied up. I want to just get proper clearance that I can kind of release this into a repo, and really the question there is what scope it goes under. I think the concept of this is going to be fine to share, but yeah, that's what our plan is just get it in a public repo and see what people think of it and contribute. Seems like it hasn't got any business rules. This can't be right. Said it created some stuff. Have I? No, it's not running anymore. Slowed the instance down, doing something. Yeah, that's the idea though. The repo would be, I think, the best place. So, okay, basic indicator strategy. We'll see the relations here. Okay, level 3 business rules. If we visualize this now, there we go. So which one did I? Yeah, basic indicator strategy. So basic indicator strategy is extended from basic indicator strategy base. Okay, and that is called, no, extended, indicator strategy, that calls it. Yeah, so GRC utils, I'm not sure I've got parent-child always the right way round here. And also, what happens if GRC utils calls basic indicator strategy and basic indicator strategy calls GRC utils? That would create a circular reference, and I don't think the CMDB will be too happy about that. So, to be honest, haven't encountered that yet. But if I expand, whoa, wow. What have we got going on here? So these business rules are calling GRC utils. I mean, some of the conversation I was having was trying to consider the risk involved, right? So if you were about to make changes to GRC utils, obviously viewing this in the CMDB dependency view, you can see that this is going to be scary. But potentially that scale of relationships could come up. So if I went into script includes and I said, okay, I'm going to change this script include GRC utils, like something could come up here and tell me that this API is being called by 83 business rules, or however many it was. Let's view the map from from GRC utils. 84 business rules are calling it. Let's expand those. So I think some of this is quite nice to visualize how things are hanging together. What we got here, so we can see the assessment utils. What it's not doing at the moment is it's not walking too much. So when it finds something, it doesn't then scan that. So that's the kind of, I'm trying to think of, and apologies if you're getting any background noise of a dog snoring. It is my dog, so apologies. So yeah, the concept of a node, I think, is in terms of naming the APIs and trying to, make this thing, I'm calling it scan abstract. I'm not really happy with that name. It needs to kind of have the ability to jump over to the next node, work out what that node is, and then scan it. And obviously that's going to be recursive. It's going to keep jumping and finding stuff, and it could easily get into a mess. I've got one thing in it at the moment that is doing that. So if I go to scan abstract, at the moment I'm calling it script include to UI action, scan business rule to script include, and I believe somewhere in here one of these it calls itself. So yeah, look at that. So scan script include to business rule. When it gets hold of its parent, it then loops back through and calls itself again. Yeah, to be honest, James, I haven't thought of how to handle risk and measure risk. That's yeah. So James is saying, would you not want to automatically give it a risk value? Example: low, medium, high. Yeah, quite possibly. I haven't gone there yet. I've literally, let's look at it from a table perspective. If I go to SNGRC indicator as a table, you can see that this table extends this table. Okay, and expand that. So from a table perspective, I can see the business rules that are running on here, and the UI actions. Where are the UI actions? So if we view it by group, maybe you can see all the script includes talking to each other, and the UI actions down here. I don't think that's the best view. Radial, not sure. Been playing with a few of the layouts, and obviously as well you can increase like the levels. I don't think that matters for me right now, but you can also build in here some views and come up with some custom settings. Focus on UI actions from a table. You can filter CIs by relationship types. Map indicators. So I haven't done anything with that. I think it's not brought in actually from the instance that I built this on. I did create some SVG icons for tables, so I wonder if they got picked up. Is it called map icons? Yeah. I wonder if they're in here and the value just doesn't exist. I thought this had. Oh, that's the icon CI type. Oh, that is the dog. No, okay, so that hasn't been picked up. That's data. I needed to add that as an application file, perhaps. So I did give these a different logo. So a table, I don't know, was just a database. I had like some brackets for business rules and a whiteboard or something for script includes to try and imitate a class. So yeah, we're talking about adding risk values automatically. We need a way to determine what that risk is, right? Is it the number of CIs? Is it the number of business rules? Is it relative? Or is it explicit? So yeah, I don't know. I think it's the possibility is there, and you know, you could also start to connect in the update sets, right? Because if you know that that record there, I don't know, CI UI action, you know what that record is. So if we view form, that takes us to the CI, and looks like I haven't actually done the form on the UI action yet, so let's just do that quickly. I think what I should have done is set the form up on the base table, and then it would have inherited the form to begin with. And it might not be too late to do that. But what I want on here is basis metadata and CI. Cheers, James. Yeah, it's late there, mate. It's late here, so it's even later where you are. So all the best, man. Thanks for tuning in, and yeah, I'll keep you posted. Stay safe, mate. Let's have a look. Am I going too far? Have I missed the formatters? Yes, CI relations. Look, this baseline diff, I wonder if that is something that could be useful. No baselines exist yet. So yeah, my point is the CI UI action just represents this application file. So we know what this application file is, which means based on the class of the record, we know how that would look in the sys updates, yeah, in the versions. So we could connect in, you know, that's an element of risk if someone else is already changing it, if there's multiple changes against it. See, we've got has role there. That could be something that we scan for. We know where the roles are being used. What access does a certain role have based on the ACLs, based on the conditions, based on the scripts. So that's something that we haven't really considered. I say we. That's the royal we. So maybe we create a table, and we'll extend CI application file. I'll call this CI. Let's just check our naming conventions. Yeah, okay, so it prefixes with that anyway. So CI role, and that should extend CI application file. We'll create a module for that. We don't need any columns to start with because it's going to get our base in there. So I think role might be quite interesting. And I'm still not sure on the entry point, like where would you want to trigger your scans from? Is it a flow with a property of the list of the scopes that you're scanning? Do we have a table that records our scan schedules? Or do we just create scheduled jobs? I think if you're going to create scheduled jobs, then you should just create a flow. So we've got CI role. So the first thing we should do, let's then see how this works. So in the core script, come in here, C table role there, and then I do Command S to save, Command Shift P, now sync current file. I need to learn that shortcut. So Shift, I think that's Shift Alt Command S. Yeah, Shift Alt Command S, lovely. Okay, so that puts my table in here. How do we scan for role, and also what relationships do we have? So we need kind of like, what do you call a relationship? So you say has access to, accesses, has access to, something like that. I'm trying to make sure that I'm using completely like custom relationships. So I don't want my relationships to get messed up with the rest of the systems, even if there's one that already exists by the same name, because that will allow us to kind of rename them. So CI relation types. So the parent will be, if we say the parent is the role, has access. Can access. Has access to, accessed by. And you could even read, write, like can read, can write, can delete, something like that. So just created that one, so I'm going to copy that sysID. Like I say, I'm just hard coding them for now. So C for constant relationship ID access. That will do. So what are we going to do to scan it? So I'm in core, so putting them in core makes them available to my scan. You can see when we run it, based on scope, we create this object of source files. Okay, that takes care of creating any record we find. We create the CI for, and then it's all kind of contained in an object that gets processed. The design of that object is not perfect right now. That's what I'm kind of working on. So class will be, so process source file I think is in core. Process source file. So do I need to define my new scope anywhere, or does it just, yeah, so get CI business rule. So what we need is get CI role. Okay, and then that will be C table role, and that gives me access to the CI. Get CI from source, create update CI from source, set relationship. We need, so we set relationship access, and that will be access. So it all starts, some of this is like, I feel really nice, like this structure makes sense, and then when I start getting down into some of the weeds of it, I'm not so happy with some of my methods. So it does need that I started trying something down here, but yeah, some of it just makes sense, some of it I need to consider again. GRCI set get GR source. So get GR source, where's that called from? Down here, create, yeah. Object table map, that's where we need it. It's this thing. Okay, so I've put this no scan option in here. Okay, so we've got the table record, but we won't scan it. That's how we deal with the scanning. So is it sys user role? What's the table name? Sys underscore user role dot list. Yes. Okay. Sys user role. Sys user role. So yeah, you can't call a constant from within here, or at least you couldn't when I was first doing it. Maybe you can within an object now. So again, something that might get tidied up. So what do we care about on the role table? Is name, is it actually name? Yes, name. So that will work for us. That's all I'm doing now. So this allows us to, this table map here will allow us to say this table, so script include, business rule, UI action, I want to take the name fields, the value of the name field, and put that into the field on the CI table by this name. So name is just working right now, but as we expand that out, we'll take maybe in fact, yeah, it's not in here, that the relationship map stuff. So I think it's in the scan abstract when we start scanning a table, an extended of the table. It's not using, yeah, it's using superclass. And there's another thing, it might be business rule, it's using collection. Script contains, condition contains. Not sure where it is. So what are we doing? We're scanning role. So where will role have access to table? I'm just going to call this scan role. Scan role to table, I guess. But then we would also, you know, scan role to UI action. I'm going to make that lowercase. I think that's what I've done elsewhere. Yeah. Where else do we condition roles? I mean, you can do it on business rules, right? On condition. So I'm not going to try and solve everything right now. Let's just scan role to table. So we've got something with table in, and this is why I want to think about the kind of concept here. Like, where is there commonality, and where is there things that are just completely unique? And you know, where does inheritance, where is inheritance at its best? So that's something that I'm kind of mulling over. But we've got here scan, okay, got scan table. Scan table to business rule, scan table to UI action. Let's just take this up the top. Scan role. Scan role to table. We take GR source in. Class name. Source ID. Search string. I'm not being defensive here. I think I have done it. Yeah, look, I've put this in into most of them now, just in case that gets called directly. And another thing I've started doing is all of my script include methods, I just prefix them all with underscore. So I make everything private, privacy first. I make everything private, and then I expose those methods publicly when I know that that's how I want somebody outside of the API to interact with it. So when it's talking to itself, it's all private. That does create potential issues for overrides, because if somebody overrides the public method, but that's something they'd have to do if they're overriding something to think about. So what's my search string? Okay, what do I need it to be? So I also need to So I've got a role. That's the thing coming in. So GR source is my role. Okay. And that's going to give us the role there. So let's just check this. sngrc dot user. Yeah, okay, so that's how we expect it to look. And roles have inheritance, right, as well. So we probably want to see that, because you get access because you've inherited. So we definitely want to see some inheritance in the role map as well. So actually scan role should have here extension, scan role extension, or scan role inheritance probably is a better name, so just comment them out for now. Scan role to table, so we get the name, that's going to be the role. Let's call this string role name. That's just a little bit cleaner, so we know what we're expecting in there. Role name, so our target is table, so that's sysdb object. It's actually not, it's ACLs, right? We want to go via the ACLs in this example. So ACL, let's think about it, sngrc indicator. So it's not, it's here. Access roles, sys security ACL role. And is that a reference? Yes. So we're going to go to the ACL role, and the ACL, okay, need to think about this. So the access control contains record, so type record. Yeah. Type record. So ACL role, add target query is going to be sys user role. That's going to be source ID. Okay. Source ID, because that's our role. Don't think we need this string role name. So this will get us all ACLs for that role, but I want to get those where so the ACL, just show that sys security ACL type sys security ACL dot type is record. Now it might have a dot. It might have a dot. It might have, I think after let's look at issue. Issue's got a bit more complex. Issue's got more complex ACLs in it. So this just starts with, but yeah, it starts going down to field level. So we want the record. We're going to query. We're going to get this. Our parent ID is our role. And that doesn't need to happen. Excuse me. That doesn't need to happen inside the loop. I've done this somewhere else as well. That means we've got the parent. The only problem is you're doing it here even if you haven't got anything in the table, so that could be unnecessary. You might want to test it as next. On this, you know, as this scales up, performance is going to be, I think, very important. So we definitely want to look for marginal gains, and that could be something that's a marginal gain. But what we don't want to do is call it every time we loop through. So what is our relationship going to be? Role has access to table. So our parent is our role. That has access to the table. Therefore, our table is the child. So that's going to be sysdb object. But we don't know at this moment in time. So var string target table name equals gr target dot, don't know whether it's get value, because so in fact var gr ACL equals gr target dot the ACL from here that's a reference field that gets us our ACL. So if we do this dot get ref record, I'm not sure, does that work as a parameter? So if I did that there, does that take in? So it doesn't look like it takes an input, so I think it has to be that way around. So that gets us our ACL. So our string table name var string ACL target equals gr ACL dot get value name. Don't think we need to default that because it's get value. Var array ACL target equals string ACL target dot split. We want to split it on the dot, okay, and if not, then base array. That should work anyway. So then our table name is going to be array ACL target would be the first value, or we'll just give a blank string there in case it's empty. That gets us our table name. Our table name will be then what we can do is child ID sysdb object. So at this point we've got our target, but we haven't looked up. What we want to do is look up the table by name. that's getting a reference. That's still a reference to the table. This script, I'm just looking. Search string that's looking for things against the table. What's it not happy about something here? Oh, it's telling me off about my regex. Okay, I'm not worried about that. Have we got anywhere where I look up? So name table, get source file object. So that goes through all the tables, get array tables to scan. Gets me the tables in scope. Yeah, at the moment I don't think I have a way to actually get the table from its name. So if I go gr table equals new glide records sysdb object grtable.get name, and if I just went sngrc issue, what would I have here? Issue. That looks pretty legit to me. I'm not sure it's robust. I'm sure there's going to be some things in here that when we're trying to do patterns and consistently access things, there's things that are going to fall down. So I'm going to say get table from name as a function. Yeah, function. And I'm going to call that string table name. Default formatter, always beautify. So that's an if. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Okay, so get table from name. That means down here, string target table name, I can say var gr table equals this dot get table from name string target table name. Oh, string target table name. That gets me my table. Var table ID equals grtable.get unique value, and therefore that becomes my table ID there, which gets me my CI. Sorry, these headphones just a bit too thin for that part of my head there. That's yeah. My ears are actually too big for headphones, especially ones that go over the ear. That's why normally I've got these. They're nice and they're very comfortable for about an hour, and then they start to hurt. So got table ID, child ID. So my parent ID is my role. Turns out I don't think I need string role name. Not really relevant. Unless for nothing other than just noising up the logs. I use GS to add info message only because when I execute it from Xplore, it doesn't leave any footprint in the logs. I just want to see something's happened and just get a feel for it. All of that stuff would come out. So we're checking now. Have I got a parent ID and a child ID? After all of that, have I got a parent ID and a child ID? And are they kind of different from each other? That avoids a recursive circular reference on the relationship table. But I don't want to set relationship execute. I just want to say set relationship access. So if this works, then that should generate some role records and some relationships to tables. I'm not sure that my entry point is completely solid, but scan role, which I love the name of, to be honest with you. Okay, we're not actually executing business rules that way round. This should be a switch, obviously. Sys user role. I keep capitalizing R. Sys user role. Then I'm going to scan role. Doesn't like it because of the commas. Scan. And GR source is coming in. So object source file gets process source file, which gets all the an array of the objects, array of the tables that are not scanning, and then goes and processes them. Scan role should work. So Command S, Command Shift Alt S. No. There we go. Sync. Does that just save if we do it? I guess it does. Okay. Let's hit it up. Where's my... Where's my scan one gone? It's going to stick with S and GRC right now because we didn't have any roles in there. Let's just reload. I want that new application menu for CI. It's under Discode. Yeah, CI roles. Nothing in here right now. Let's let this loose. Just on the scope. So it took 46 seconds last time. That was the first time it had ran. It should be a bit quicker the next time round because it's not creating records or relationships, but it is checking each one of them, and it also doesn't have a way, like, it doesn't decouple them. I'm not populating the last discovered date on the CI as well. There we go, that looks good. So did I rename the message when I scan abstract, scan role to table? No, it still says execute. says no changes. That's funny. You have to save first. Wow, that might not have worked then. Let's just run it again. Yeah, last discovered some of those core discovery features. Possibly my reference ID to sys metadata. That's good to have the reference to application file, but correlation ID might also do the trick. Just to put a sys ID in a string field. Don't know if that's of any benefit. Can you see anything that says access down? I don't think it loads all of them, by the way. No. Error type. Oh, type cannot find function get unique value in object false. So I'm pretty sure that's coming from get unique value on here. Get table from name. String table name. Because I do a get unique value here. So that's where that's failing. Line 112. Let's go before that. Let's see what's happening, because I've not debugged that part of the code at all. Is there a way? It would be nice if my object doesn't kind of commit itself to everything every time. Like, what if I just wanted to do just one small part of it? So the object method, the approach to that source process source file object is all or nothing at the moment, and also I'm just only allowing it via a scope name and does the whole thing. So there's lots to think about on that. Just need to fire up the debugger. And that should be enough. So I'll just let it get to that point. What I should have also checked actually is, like, did it create some and not the others? So I am going in a little bit blind right now. But let's just see what it does. The first time, you know, it's going to break on the first time it goes into that function. So should be interesting to see it. What's the time? Well, it's gone midnight in the UK. So if you are in the UK or in Europe, then happy Tuesday. So we're at this point. What have we got already? String target table name. Okay. I don't think we're capturing that table yet. So this get table from name. That should work. Yeah, that works. Table ID works. Okay. So string source is our DB object, source ID. Yeah, that should work. So get gr from source. What's our table name? It knows it. sysdb object. GRCI. We're going to go and check, does that table exist? Says it does. The GRCI says that the assessment instance table has been mapped. That's good to know, because then we are, you know, we are getting some kind of core functionality there, which is important. I feel like that failed then. No, it didn't. Okay. Sometimes when debugger kicks back so so quickly, I feel like something went wrong and I missed it. So let's just look. Child, parent, they're different. set relationship access. That should work. I'm going to check first. Do we exist? We do exist. Because it's run once already. Okay, we're going into the next one. So this is interesting. We've got here the ACL target. So audit advanced observation dot action plan. I never actually saw what that was last time, so we definitely want 0. Yeah, target table name. Okay. I'm going to step over that. Yeah, does that get me table ID? Just going to play it to next time. Meant to step over it. Table ID is working. GRC task. So what was my array? Okay, like that's, see, that works. GRC task, table ID. Ah, do you know what? Is it? No, 'cause it's varring. So how does it know what its table ID is going to be before it's got there? Does it change? So watch table ID DCD 0C3. Yeah, it changed. Interesting. I thought each loop round it would start it again, but it's kind of holding on to the value, so that's so advanced evidence response, advanced issue triage, advanced issue triage, evidence response, indicator template, issue, assessment scope and advanced risk, evidence request, advanced audit, advanced evidence, GRC task, that's remediation task, advanced issue triage, GRC advanced evidence response, remediation task, compliance authority document, risk assessment instance, GRC issue. So you know, this is it, it's building up a kind of view of all of these tables that you might not otherwise have kind of known were talking to each other or relevant. And quite often you start exploring things and you go down a rabbit hole. I think that's kind of where this where the idea for this channel started actually is not just about kind of going deep and you know, yeah, getting lost, going in a rabbit hole. That's quite possible to do if you just do the table name .config. I'm a big fan of that. It's a great way to understand what's going on in your application. But sometimes it's difficult to kind of zoom out. So I'm just watching these tables. Feels like this thing's working. I'm just waiting for a string target table name. I'm waiting for something funny to come in there, which means that my table ID, which means my glide record for table will fail. But they all look Very legitimate. Ooh, vol entry. Interesting. Vulnerability. That's where it's failing, is it? Because I haven't got that table on my instance, but there's an ACL for it. Okay. That's where it failed. So if I go back to Xplore, we'll see there'll be an error message down here. Yeah, so you know, one of the key things here is about defensive coding. So how can we make that defensive? Basically, if no GR table, we could just continue, okay, which will go to the next loop. That means if it's false, but we could also say if no GR table dot is valid record, just in case it kind of holds on to it from last time. It shouldn't hold on to it from last time. That should get us return false, so that should be okay. So let's put in here that some ACLs are created for tables which do not exist, e.g. SN vol something. So we save, sync. I'm going to keep debugger turned off and just see if I run this again, do we get any errors? So I'm just going to, I can't get rid of desktop one, can I? Nope. So I just want to get the roles in, see if this works, then I will just look at it on the map. Looks like, yeah, undefined. Okay, we don't actually return anything in our run, I don't think. Right. Oh, we do return, but nothing gets returned in here. I do always think it's worth having a return, especially for run. Think about that from the beginning of, like, you know, from a response perspective. You don't have to do anything with what comes back, but it'd be nice to know some kind of report on what really happened here. And return objects rather than returning specifically strings. You know, return an object and then you can extend it. I've got an example at the moment where I've built something that I'm quite happy with, quite proud of, and now I want to expand on it, which means I have to change the return. So the thing that's already being returned is being accessed and everything's being consuming it, but now I want to at the same point return some additional stuff. So an object is best placed for that, and I should have thought about that from the beginning, really. Okay, so what we've got here, that's a bit of a weird role name there. SNGRC dot SNGRC system admin. Is that real? Sys user roles. Sys SNGRC. Okay. Okay. Not sure I'm sure I'm too pleased about that. Let's configure. Do you know what? I definitely should configure the base on this. I think it will inherit when I create a new table. If I change the base form layout, that should work. Let's do two things. So I'm going to put the base on there. Most recent discovery, I'm going to start putting that on as well. CI relations, CI base diff. I want to set this last discovered date as well. I want to start setting that in a moment. I want my roles, I want to deal with the extensions as well. That's one thing I'm going to do because I feel like I'm in the flow of roles right now. But GRC user, GRC reader should have some ACLs. Look at that. That's not right. That role doesn't call. That's not right. What's happened here? Oh, is it because? Because look, level 1 has access to. That's interesting, actually. Yeah, so if I've got access to these tables and these tables are able to execute, so they need to be validated, right? So you would, depends if the condition fits. So this needs to be qualified. This is a bit noisy right now, but if you think about it, that run layouts, let's expand. Yeah, we definitely need a different relationship for write, read. Wow. So I don't think it's right that the reader, just because the table can execute the business rules, that we kind of suggest that the role can execute things, because they can't. Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to click those buttons. Wow. Okay, so sngrc.admin. Yeah, that's got pretty interesting. Let's just look at it from an issue perspective, the issue table. Yeah, you can see the role there. Role. And it would be good that users over here. So notice, like, the manager, GRC manager, isn't included in here, but the GRC manager inherits user. Okay, so yeah, we need to get these records. Has access. It should say read, like CRUD, basically create, read, update. That needs to happen because this is misleading, I would say. But let's do the role inheritance. Let's do role inheritance because I think that will be good. So we've got scan role to table. Let's scan role inheritance. if it's inherited, if you've got a role, let's have a look at the table structure, because do we want to go both ways on the role? Upstream, downstream inheritance that contains roles. Have we got the manager? We must have the manager. Let's just go this way to start with. So this role contains role. Sys role contains. So scan role inheritance is a function that's going to take in GRC source and var gr role contain equals new glide record. I've gone plural there because it's not plural of the item, it's plural as a word, because contain would seem wrong. The table name is in the singular, but it is in the, it appears to be in the plural, but I don't think that's plural. I'm not sure what to call it grammatically, but add query. Okay, so our source is role, and that will be our source ID. And if we take this, we know what our class name is. I'm not sure why we want that. So we get our role, gr role contains dot query, while gr role contains dot next. Gr role contains dot next. What are we going to get? We're going to get the contains is a reference to the role. So var string role contained ID equals, let's do it that way, dot get value contains which is actually, that's our target if we were going to use. That's what we should have called it, it's gr target actually, if we'd have done it that way. Anyway, so our parent ID, again, parent ID when we're looking at it from a scan perspective, that GRC source, GR source is the same parent ID. So parent ID here, because it's our CI, so we have to look it up or create it, and we're looking it up and then going back out and going looking it up again. So this way it's self-contained. The other way around, it's yeah, not like it wouldn't stand alone, it would need it to be passed in, but you know, I'm just thinking about from performance. So we get our controls, so this child ID will be this one. Oops. here. Yeah, look at that. SysDB object create CI. That should be class names. That's why class name exists up here. And it's not table ID. It's role ID. And we put this in. I want to get the extends one. That's not checking for. See, code's so inconsistent between here, that one. Funny how the extends doesn't have it. Let's just take this one. I can change the wording. Okay, so extends role. Need the files open. So role ID. Role name, sorry. Role name's not even coming up. I don't even want the info message in there now. Set relationship extend. I think I should change this. GR target. And this. Target ID. Source. Target. Great. So we're only going down, but that should be fine. The other thing is for the extends, where we've got recursive here. So this dot scan role inheritance GR target, and that is recursive as well. Now, should we do that at the end? Scan role inheritance. Let's have a go. Let's see what happens. And whatever happens now, we're going to wrap it up. So let's just see what happens. And if we get some role inheritance in here, then that's a nice thing. Shout to James Foot. Thanks for tuning in tonight, mate. I saw a few other people did come on the stream but didn't get involved. Oh, cannot read property table from undefined. That's sorry, dog's being a bit noisy. Having a scratch. So line 110, let's just see if we can fix that. What have I done wrong? Scan role inheritance. Cannot read property table from undefined. Scan role inheritance. Where's table coming from then? Create, update, see. I wonder if I go and look at the dependency quickly and just look at sngrc dot manager. I only want to see role in here. Does that work? Doesn't look like it's applied. So what's gone wrong? What's gone wrong? See, I can't help myself in here. Line 110. It went wrong there. Yeah, definitely need to be able to just scan a specific part of the application. Like just scan table, just scan role, this item coming that way. That also needs to be considered, I think. But I do need this to debugger. It's triggered, isn't it? No? Oh, it's just taking ages. Okay, yeah, I do need this to just get through, but I just want to take, there we go, scan. So what's going on? GR target is valid, so the table name works there. Parent ID, string class name, sys user role contains. Is that what it is? It's because we're scanning a table. When it first comes in, GR target is not. Okay, so what it is, GR target dot contains. So role is contains. So target ID is contains. So dot contains dot get ref record. And let's var gr role equals if gr role that's what it is. Because I'm passing in sysuser role contains gr target is not the actual glide record of the role itself. So actually just turn that off and shoot from the hip. I'm not sure I like the way the camera zooms in on me while I'm drinking my water. It should zoom out and give me some. Yeah, we don't want any bacon sarnie moments. That green screen's still not great up here, is it? This bit. I've got the camera on portrait mode, so doesn't give me the kind of the ability to use my hands when I'm talking, but looks like that's been successful. Therefore, if I look at GRC, I'm going to go admin. Yeah, look at that. So the developer, let's yeah, so you can see here that admin gets access to these tables, but it inherits the manager role, which gets access to these tables, but inherits the GRC user role, which gets access to these tables, and this role, and this role. And probably if we increase that, I don't know. Yep, we see that that reader has got access to those roles. So, wow, that has, I think, that was one of my more enjoyable results actually. Business user role. So, I mean, I could just spend ages studying the findings of this. Obviously, that needs to happen to kind of to validate what's going on. But I definitely think we need to distinguish between just has access to, right? So what I'll do, I'll go in and kill all those relationships, create 4 new ones. So it'll be called access create, access read, access update. I think that will be a bit more interesting, and will separate some of this, like GRC manager. 55 tables not shown. Look at that. You've got here this table. What's this? Why? Sometimes it doesn't. We group it? No. Yeah, that's not a bad view. Okay, let's wrap it up. So, no, that's not what we wanted. Hold on. No, not that way. This one. Okay. Yes, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thanks to James for getting very vocal on the chat. Enjoyed the participation. It's very late in the UK. It's even later in Europe, and it's even earlier in Australia. So if you are tuned in from down under, good morning. And yeah, we'll catch up soon. I don't want to mention what's happening on Wednesday evening in the UK at 8 PM. Just going to do that. So hopefully next time we speak, we'll still be smiling. all we can hope for, but hope everyone stays safe, and thanks for joining us. Any comments, any thoughts you've got, just add them into the comments. Hit me up on SN Devs on the Slack channel, GRC community, in the ServiceNow community forums. Where else? Yeah, that's probably the best place. Oh, shout to Casey. I forgot. I've got to big up Casey for the SN Devs Slack sticker. So where should that go? Maybe that should go there. Not sure. No, it's not going to ruin my mic, is it? It's only the mic only costs 20 quid. Maybe that's where that should go. Just not sure what angle. It should probably go the same angle as the ServiceNow. Yeah, shout out to Casey for getting them over. Much appreciated. I'll have a think about that. Well, I think that's probably the best place. For it, yeah. Shame about that. Shame about that logo. Shame about the logo. Thanks, Casey. sndevs.slack.com. Yeah, obviously check out the developer community site as well. Rome's coming as well, so lots of things to look forward to. But right now, it's time for bed. So stay safe and take care. Thank you.